Yu-Gi-Oh! Mint.com is now TradingCardMint.com. Please check out their selection of over 20,000 cards with prices cheaper than TCG Player.
So if you guys have been following the channel for the last couple of days, you've probably seen me proxying a Nouvelle standard deck. And for those of you that have followed the history of this channel, I have loved this card since its conception in original Vanguard. I think I made a lot of people rage quit during the dope break ride format with Nouvelle because it was actually insane. And then when I saw that this was coming back to standard, I went ahead and said, fuck it. Like, I don't care how bad the variant of the deck actually ends up being. We're playing Nouvelle. So this is going to be the current standard Nouvelle Veg. The deck isn't 100% good, but you still are Kagero, you still have shield deniability, and to top things off, new Nouvelle pretty good at 15k. So guys, please check out our friends at TradingCardMint.com down below in the description. Enter MCOL40 on checkout. Save you guys yourselves a little bit of money on your order. And rumor has it MCOL40 does actually work on the site, so if you do want to enter that, you'll go from there. So as I was saying, I've been intrigued with the concept of grade 4s. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, Strides ruined Vanguard. No, that's not the case. Strides opened up the potential to fix consistency in the deck without having to bog it down with grade 4s. I know there was a joke grade 5 released a long time ago, but since they've rebooted the game, things like Nouvelle have getting their chance to actually shine. Like, they're not being absolutely worthless, much like all the force counters we get for Kai. So what makes somebody want to play Nouvelle instead of, you know, Escaplate the Blaster? Escaplate the Blaster is a one-of, is fine. You don't have to base your entire deck around it. You've already got a soul charging engine built into the deck, and it just so happens if you ride the Blaster Blade, you know, you're in a decent situation. But Nouvelle is a different beast altogether, because when you're playing this as the way it is, he doesn't leave the Vanguard circle, and he's also 15k. Now the thing that makes him so good is his act once per turn. Soul Blaster, grade 3 or greater card. Till the end of the turn, your opponent's triggers are nullified. This unit gets plus 20k, drive -1. If your opponent has 5 or more cards in the damage zone, you cook everything. So, for going down to 1 drive check, you get to nullify your opponent's triggers. That's pretty good. Also the fact that, like, yeah, Protect clans do get a free pass on this, which honestly relatively sucks, but what we care about is the potential that if we've rushed down our opponent at that stage in the game, or we started getting our opponent to burn resources, I will gladly lose 1 drive check to board wipe you. Like, it seems really good. And to top things off, you also get your force marker, which is exactly what we want. Also the fact that I think a lot of people forget 15k base is incredibly large, and a lot of decks can't handle crossing over that threshold. Like, I think Royal Paladin is the only one that has a normal body that can get over it. Now, it's very important that you also are still playing these. 4 copies of Waterfall. Now, when you're playing against OTT, you need to get to that Sentinel denial, and I think the biggest problem that everybody ends up having when they're playing in the current format is Protect. What is it? OTT is the most threatening of the big decks right now. Things like Ram Blue also sometimes cause an issue. But one of the good things that you get out of this is that Sentinel deniability, getting the ability to Soul Blast and stop that. And that's kind of one of the things I saw a lot when people were looking at Nouvelle. They were like, why would I cut Waterfall? Like, Waterfall is one of the best cards in the deck, and I absolutely agree with you. I would not be playing this deck without Waterfall. Absolutely not. If you're doing a 4-4 split, you're doing something wrong. Like, honestly. But this ratio, starting off, is just fine. And in the last grade 3 we play, we're playing 3 copies of Overlord. This seems to be the trend with the deck. You can No, I was gonna say, like, you can cut this and go back down to 1 Overlord, but 7 is fine, especially if you have so many ways to get to this, and if you dead draw into this, you do have the fixability to fix this situation and go, you know, turn the Nouvelle Veg into something else. And it's also not like we're not playing the searchers to go get this anyway. So in terms of your supercharged lineup, this is about as good as it's going to get for the hybrid deck. I think playing any more than this, you run into consistency issues, and we're not about that life, not at all. Now, grade 2s. 4 copies of Nouvelle. I can't tell you how many times being able to kill something and get that power up has came in handy. This is one of those cards that you're going to use to pressure your opponent, take advantage of situations, and I mean, 15k attackers, anybody? Like, if my opponent cross rides or brings out Nouvelle on me and I'm staring at them, I'm like, oh cool, I can go to 15k and at least get you to burn 1 card out of your hand. It's one thing I do like about these large attackers, the fact that, like, they're 15k and they do what they need to do. So 4 copies of Nouvelle. Of course, this is an absolute mandatory staple. 4 copies of Berserk Dragon. So, counter blast 1, soul blast 1, draw a card. This was something that this deck absolutely needed. There's a lot of times when you're playing this that sometimes you want to save the soul. This build's a little bit soul reliant, or less soul reliant than the other ones. That's kind of why sometimes I'm like, is drawing the card absolutely, you know, like, mandatory? I think at times it can be. So 4 copies of this. We're playing 3 copies of, God, I never remember this guy's name, Nouvelle Critic. So on attack, for rearguard, they didn't want to make this guy for Vanguard. They learned their lesson. On hit, search your deck for a Nouvelle Veg and add it to your hand. That's why we're playing 2 copies of Nouvelle. This is just one of those cards that when your opponent sees this, they're going to guard it because they don't want you to deck thin 1 card. And I definitely, 10k searchers are really good. Like, I can't tell everybody, like, I almost want to play 4 of this at times, but, like, it's fine the way it is in this number. And then last but not least, this is a tech choice. I kind of wanted to play 2 of this and go to 13 grade 2s, but you don't really have the room. Those 10k interceptors and 10k front row attackers are really critical to a lot of situations. Having that extra 10k shield value, or extra 5k shield value, can make and break situations, especially if your opponent's anticipating really weird situations. So, like I said, the thing I like about this is you can call down, it's a free 10k attacker and a free 10k interceptor. They're only really good in standard, but the fact that they actually exist until we get better cards, especially better interceptors, like, it's absolutely fine. Next up, 4 copies of Ammo. So countercharging and draw power is always very welcome in this deck. You still do have the same amount of cooking of the opponent's cards. So there's that. I'm playing 2 copies of Bar. I know some builds are a little bit different on this. I might change it. I was trying to get cheeky. I was playing 3 copies of Gaia's. I still wanted to be able to close out games with Gaia. And like I said, I mean, you can very well cut 2 of these and go back to 4 of these, depending on what builds you're trying and things like that. But Gaia just pressures your opponent to the point of not being able to do anything. I mean, yeah, you lose a 10k shield in your hand, but for the aggro is the reason why we cared about it. Now, with this particular variant, as I was talking about earlier, if you get to the Nouvelle dead in the hand, you just reveal it to your opponent, shuffle it back into the deck, search for an Overlord. I did not want to overload on the Overlords because of this very reason for this. So that does fix a lot of situations. Our starter is Undux, of course. And then triggers, 4 heals, nothing too spectacular here. And then we're on a 3/3 split. So 6 draw, 6 crits. Yes, you want to be an aggro deck, and we are playing Gaia to compensate for the lack of these. Also, with draw power, you want to turbo through the deck as much as you actually can. So it's also why you want these. Also, the fact that you're playing a control deck, getting these on the defense trigger is incredibly valuable to you to be able to punish your opponent for random ass aggroing. It ends up happening more than it actually should. So, this is current Nouvelle Kagero. Please leave a comment down below. Check out tradingcardmint.com down below in the description. Enter MCO40 on checkout if you see anything that you need over there. And honestly, give this deck a shot. It's a lot more fun than you actually think. Alright guys, peace out.